call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for the town of Sevastopol for Monday, August 19th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Why don't we start with the roll call to establish a quorum?
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Present.
Chairman Dan Wolfle.
Here.
Supervisor Jim Nellen.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Supervisor John Stabenus.
Here.
All right. Next item on our agenda is the meet and greet. We have a few guests in the audience this evening. You want to start, Derek?
Derek Nice, North Country Road.
All right, thank you.
Mary Ellen Heed, Matthew Road.
Susan Q.R., South Cave Point Drive.
There we go. And none other than?
Larry Chapman, Glidden Drive.
All right, thank you. Public participation, does anybody have anything in particular they would like to chat about?
Oh, I don't know, where's the appropriate time to ask a question? Is this it?
Depends on the question.
Well, it
There
doesn't
may
have
never be.
anything to do with anything on the agenda.
Well, that would probably be no.
Okay. Given the fact that we had some severe weather earlier this summer, some of the neighbors and I were chatting, and it came to our, I guess, realization, there's no emergency sirens in Sevastopol. And I had sent Amy an email and asked her, and she said no. So I guess my question is, why don't we have an emergency siren? And should we have an emergency siren?
Yes, no, and maybe.
Yeah.
We definitely need more than one.
I have no idea, Sue. I mean, I don't know how many communities up here do. I've never been party of any consideration on that. I think the problem, though, is how many you would need, and are they effective?
Well, you know, when people are all out at the beach and, you know, hiking in the park and doing whatever, when there's a severe storm coming through, you can't really depend on your cell phone for that, especially if you're in the park. I know there are dead zones in the park for some of that stuff. And I think Amy said, I think Sturgeon Bay is the only area where there's a siren. I don't think there are any in any of the towns north of here. But it just seems like the population in the summer is such that it was this summer, we had so many people, that would be the easiest and most effective way to alert people if there's severe weather coming. I don't know how expensive it would be, but I think it's something maybe that the town would look into. I don't know. I know that they are in rural areas, because we, you know, when we drive back and forth from Milwaukee, we take some of the back roads and we see the sirens out there, so.
I don't know enough about them to even know how they're activated, so my first concern would be is if they're internet activated in some way, shape, or form, we got a problem to begin with. But there is a emergency services, Dan Kane, isn't it?
There's an app you can get on your phone or on your laptop, computer, whatever, the Red Alert app. But like you said, if you're hiking and
Or swimming
leave your
or
phone
whatever,
in the
yeah.
vehicle. But,
Where were you looking? Where did you see those sirens? Towards Kiwani?
There's one, I know there's one in Cooperstown. I don't know if you know where that is. We always travel the back roads. I know there's one there, and because we've commented on it, and we were coming down Zander Road between Tisch Mills, it's north of Mishicot, and because we were talking about this, and bingo, there was one there. So I know.
I think those might be for the nuclear plant.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I
But
know
that,
what
well,
you're
the one
talking
at
about.
Cooperstown is pretty far on the other side. It's almost by
I've been through there, I know what you're talking about, but he might be right.
43.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, you know, they do appear in rural areas, so.
I know when the tornado came through in Egg Harbor, they dispersed the fire trucks, and they were looking, and they put it over their PA, and they sounded the sirens, but, yeah.
We can take a look, I have no clue,
Yeah,
I mean, but we can investigate a little bit. There is a guy in the county that has emergency services too, he might be able to give us some insights and find out, I mean, who knows? But
Yeah.
we can check.
because those things are hard to ignore, you know, I mean, if you're out on the beach.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, I was always under the assumption that we had them, because I've always heard them from my house, whenever they did the weekly test, at least growing up I did. I haven't heard them in a while, but
Where did you live as a kid?
Country View Road.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
don't know.
mean,
Just north.
and it's possible we could be hearing it from Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible.
No idea, but we'll investigate it and see what's up. Okay. All right.
I just have one thing too. I asked Thad Ash
Yeah,
if he could look into the 35-mile-an-hour zone again, because I had another complaint. And what the
where are you
person,
talking about?
by front of Paul's Booties.
Okay,
And the 55-mile-an-hour sign is right by Paul's house.
right,
And the 35 that says 35 ahead
is in front of Stager.
is in front of Staggers. So what this gentleman wanted was the 35 moved back to where the 55, so that they would line up like this, and then the 35-mile-an-hour sign, you know, to slow down,
Right.
would be back farther. And I called him before I went on vacation, and I haven't got an answer back. I told him I'd be gone for a week, so, but,
I'm familiar with that, and I've talked to John about that, and I don't know the reason why they're staggered.
right.
But, you know, I
So
don't,
he's gonna look into that and see what
it
they
could
can
have
do.
been something that Buck did on his own one day, you know, going one way and one the other.
Right,
And I think they moved that 55 further east too. But either way, I know what you're talking about.
right.
that's
So if
not-
they, in other words, if they have the 55 on one side, the
Should be on the
35
same
should be
side.
on the opposite side going the other way, I would think, but
Right.
he's gonna look at it and see if, so that there was no confusion, so.
Okay.
Oh, could I comment on that? My husband, Tom Jordan,
Okay.
got stopped by the police right in that area.
Shame
where
on
those-
him.
Yeah, it was a while back, and the policeman didn't understand that the signs were staggered. Like, Tom was he was okay where he was.
He was heading west and he was in the 55 zone and on the opposite side, yeah,
Yeah, so I mean,
Or east, I mean.
there's an issue there.
yeah.
Because there are a lot of walkers in that area.
Right.
So,
Well, I
so,
know there's been an officer down there because a couple other people have been stopped. They've parked themselves in a couple places.
yeah,
So the whole issue on Whitefish Bay Road is not drop the speed limit, it's enforcement of the speed limit. You can't make that road 25 and expect anybody to honor that, but it is an issue that,
they don't honor it by me either, so.
I know.
It's like-
So, okay, anything else?
Nope.
All right, onward with the,
One other thing,
oh, sorry.
seeing that we're talking about signs and actually Whitefish Bay Road, ironically enough, the sign going up the hill, if you're coming from 42, heading to Massey Road, the one that shows the intersection going up the hill, somehow maybe during the storm or whatever, one of the bolts came out and it's dangling, so we want to let someone know the sign's almost gonna fall off.
Oh, okay. You're talking about heading east up the hill before,
Yeah, so like if you're coming from
Yeah.
42 heading to Massey, as you're on top of the hill.
is there an intersection sign there?
Yeah, I believe it's an intersection sign.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. So we should have the rest of the sign knocked off and that would solve the problem?
Sure,
Okay.
if you want.
All right, we'll do that, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, adopt the agenda. Has the agenda been properly noticed?
The agenda has been properly noticed.
All right, and therefore we would need a motion to adopt said agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda for this evening, Monday, August 19th, 2019, as noticed.
All right, motion by Linda,
I'll second it.
second by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, onward. First thing is approval of minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting July 22nd and the Board of Review from June 24th. And you should have had a chance to take a peek at that.
And if they're acceptable to you, we would need a motion to accept those.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting of July 22nd and June 24th.
All right. Motion by John, second by?
I'll second it.
Second by Jim. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and it's approved. Pending business discussion, road work update. Okay, couple things since we had our road tour. I had a variety of issues on West Shore with flooding and Erdman Drive. And so I had the county go out and do some ditch work to try and alleviate some of the problems, and also replace a culvert and install the larger culvert on West Shore. And they're also in the process of putting a culvert in on Erdman on the south end, where there's been a buildup of water, and they're also gonna do some road patching over there once the culvert's put in. And we've been by there. This particular yard has been underwater. And so they're gonna put a culvert in to help that issue. The surface of the road is completely busted up, so they'll do a little wedging of that road, just a short strip of it, when they pave West Shore Drive. So that work will be done before they pave West Shore Drive. And I talked to the landowner, because the problem to a large degree rests with him. He put in a U-shaped driveway without any culverts. So he has agreed to, and he's hired somebody to cut his driveway, install culverts, and patch it up, which I think is great. And so I said I'd put a culvert in to alleviate some of the drainage. So we're spending a small chunk over there.
That whole Erdman Drive, that end,
Oh, it's,
I mean, we can put 500 culverts in there. They built in a swamp.
right, I
You
mean,
know, I mean, so I hope
best we could do is try and,
spend too much.
no,
time
but we
and
have to
effort,
try
money on
and
this.
drain off some of it, yeah. And that area on the
The
south.
road is basically the same height as the yard and across the road in the wood. I mean, it's all the same height. It's wet on dry years down there.
Yeah, and he has, his driveway's built above as well, so it's a
I think you
mess.
should take another board out of the dam to alleviate that.
No, that would help him immensely. The chip seal projects have been done. If you haven't seen the one and you have a free afternoon, you should go over and take a look at the one that we did on Sylvan View? Sylvan Board, I forget where it is, but you know where.
Circle East.
Sylvan View Circle East.
I believe it
Road
was.
look- That road looks great. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen next year, but I was thoroughly impressed with the result. So we'll see when, after the snow plowing, and what it's like next spring. West Shore was delayed because of all the ditching, culvert, and patching work. So I think they should be over there in the next week, starting to saw cut and get that done. Northeast is using our roads as fill-in work. No timetable on when. They're gonna do Clark Lake first, and he'll do the others. So,
They did the one over by, that goes between by the orchard, by Choice Orchards there. I forget the name of that one.
oh, the gravel, that was the county. They put in recycled asphalt.
Yeah, that's all done.
Yep,
Yep,
yep.
it's a big
So,
improvement. I
they have
didn't
done.
see any puddles.
We have spent roughly right $240,000 of our budget for the chip seal projects and the road construction projects. And we were over our snow plowing budget by $20,000. So we're pretty much chewing through everything that we allocated for roads this year through trying to make up for the snow plowing and the patch and repair work. Plus, I'm sure there'll be other stuff in the future that we have to contend with, but that's kind of a recap of where we stand at the moment. So, next item is litigation update. I think you're aware that the Van Bellingers have refiled a lawsuit suing the town for breach of contract from 2017. As you know, we had a agreement with them that we would provide them a key to the dam, provided they provided us liability coverage to protect the town from any claims of injury. They were unable to fulfill that with insurance, and after a year, we removed the key, changed the locks, and so they've considered that a breach, and they have reinstituted the lawsuit against us. Rural Insurance, who is our insurance carrier, will defend the town. It's the same, and using the same law firm as was used in the past. Rural is also attempting to take the same course of action it did last year, which was deny coverage for the claim. It's basically a repeat of what they did. The consensus opinion from the legal beagles that we have working with us, one to my right and the other one in town, believe that our best course of action, and I agree with it, is for us to ask the court to deny the action up front, because the original terms of the agreement were not fulfilled. So there's a strong feeling or sense that that's the right course of action to take. And Randy has filed all the necessary paperwork, motions, and other things to refute the denial of coverage. And he's also talked with the people from Rural, so they're in sync with where we would like to go with this. And last item is that if the court does not agree with us, should they rescind, we would still have time prior to any court hearing, court date, to see if there's any other avenues we'd like to pursue. So it's another in progress.
So are we gonna go after them for our lawyer costs after this is all done?
I have no idea. In fact, well, Jim, you might be better to answer that one. If they were to win the case, do they typically charge us for their legal fees? Is that a typical approach, or I don't recall from?
Well, I mean, he makes a number of claims against us. Generally, the prevailing party, at least the United States, does not get their claims, does not get their
Attorney's fees.
Attorney's fees. So there might be some costs that are assessed. But, no, as the chairman said, my hope is that we'll resolve this very early in the litigation and avoid having to go through a lengthy discovery process.
And they've asked for a jury trial.
Well, the part is they didn't have proof of insurance, so they're in breach of contract.
That's kind of the consensus
Yeah,
opinion,
okay.
but, you know, things being what they are, that's as much information as I can share or can give you that I'm aware of at this point in time. I do have a little reading for you at your desk if you want to read it. It might give you a little more insights, but that would be it. Okay. New business. The application for the Century Ride. We don't have any road closures on here.
No, John Maury was supposed to be here tonight. He said he was going to, but he must have either forgot or got delayed. He was just making application to make it known that these bikers will be on the road on September 8th. We always have a little bit of issue with them not staying to the
Right.
side of the road, but other than that,
Not riding single file,
But there's
running
nothing-
stop signs,
Not
running
yet.
everything.
no, there's no closure at all, but he
So there's
just
nothing
wanted
we
to.
really have to do with this.
No, but he
Right.
wants us to
Be aware.
authorize
aware.
it and be aware of it.
Okay, that's
They
not
close the
unusual.
road every year, several roads. They refuse to let people go through for a wait.
In some years, I think in the past, they've actually closed the road, but I don't, this year, I'm not sure that they have.
They close, a lot of times they close Gordon on the old highway,
Yeah,
right there by Culver's, they close that.
They close Matthew by
Yep.
Forest, they close H. They go down toward yours. They close a lot of them and just have regular people standing there saying you can't get through. Turn
That was
around.
saying they have nothing but, okay.
No fun.
We can post that on our webpage if somebody's interested with the maps, scan that. Okay. Next item is budget request for 2020 committee meetings. If you're in part of a committee, you need to have a workshop meeting and tell us what you expect us to put into the budget, whether that be money for Bay Lake or park or whatever it might be. So ask that you have those meetings prior to October 14th and give her a little bit of time so she can put it into the table. So maybe say
October 12th.
October 12th, yeah. When would you like it last date by, Amy? Do you have a
I
date?
don't have a date right now. Let's look at the calendar. By the 9th. If you
Okay.
could give them to me by the 9th.
All right. Earlier if you can, that'd be good, yes.
For Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission, our dues are around $4,000.
Yep, I
Is
got
that something that required board approval?
Well, what did
I
we
guess
do with it?
we'll put it into the budget.
We'll put it into the budget, yeah. I don't remember what we did with it last year because it came up at the same time as your comprehensive plan.
Right?
But we'll put it into the budget as a regular renewal
I
item.
think we had money in the budget last year
I think
for
we-
it.
I think we might have like $12,000 left, but we'll probably burn that up
With
with this
everything.
update. So-
Yeah, I saw it in here. It's in the correspondence.
Okay.
Okay. The other item here is reallocation of room tax dollars. We don't have to come up with a firm direction tonight, but since the building has been paid for, we have this covered under a resolution, we need to redirect those dollars. And, my thought would be that we would take a chunk of those dollars and dedicate them to the building for future repairs, renovations, whatever. Park a significant chunk of that money aside so it's there. So if we incur another new well kind of issue, or as we know, the building's 11 years old, we get to 20 years and we'll need a new roof or something else expensive. So I think we should put some money aside there, and you can give it some thought on, what that might be. I think we should also dedicate a large portion of it to road repair on an ongoing basis to try and increase as much as possible towards road repair. And then any other thoughts that you have in terms of
When you do a set number, or you do a percentage of what we get in, just so it kind of covers
we
year by
could
year
do,
basis?
we could do either or. Whatever, I think accounting wise makes Amy's life easier. But I think more importantly, it's the direction that where are we gonna go with it? And obviously, some of it will end up in the general fund for other purposes. We are still limited by the state to any increases in our taxes, our levy, other than what we have in new construction. And just as a footnote, the Department of Transportation, I think it was, or the governor, came up with a fund of $75 million that they are going to allocate out to towns and villages for road construction. And I heard today or yesterday, and I don't know if this is accurate or inaccurate, but I heard it on the news, supposedly you're going to apply for some of these funds, and it'll go to a committee in the state, and they will look at it and decide if it merits funding. But the way this thing works is supposedly they will take a project, let's say it's a $100,000 project, they'll pay 90%, we have to pay 10%. So depending on the rules as they roll out in the next few days, if there's something there that we want to try and apply for that money, and then we would take some of that, it's a $100,000 road, and put 10 grand in, we'd use that money for that. So kick that around a little bit, and I'll bring it back on the September agenda and figure out, just where we want to go with it. Thoughts?
Yes, I agree that we should think about our capital improvement projects or plan or whatever, especially identifying, at least have 5 or 6 roads on the radar and a guesstimate as to when we would accomplish those. And our local road improvement funds will be up for that grant again next year, so let's make sure that we have roads identified that we can
I think we got that.
submit that.
I think
our
we'll
requests.
have those covered. But to your point on the allocation of funds, we have not done the capital plan update. And I've been kind of noodling around when a good time to do that. I don't know that I want to try and accomplish it at the same time as the budget. Budget workshop, it may or may not. It just depends on where we stand. But we want to give that some thought, because I think some of these things we could address You know, we had a laundry list of stuff that we moved around, some we allocated money for each year, some we didn't. So we want to take a look at that. So we'll bring it back in September, and you can,
Maybe snow plowing, just put a what if, and it will,
well, you know, we've grown our
Snow removal.
snow plowing every year. Every year we've bumped it up. I mean, it's amazing. I think you may have heard me say, but when I first got on the board, it was $40,000. And last year, you know, it's just went through the roof. And I think we bumped it up last year by 10 grand, didn't we? Over the year before. So I don't know if there's a way to keep up with it, but
but I mean, if you put something in there for just in case of what ifs.
yeah. You can have a contingency fund, but that also can be the general fund. But either way, we'll take a look at that. So, okay, great. Next item I have here is Plan Commission hearing process. And this is a proactive discussion and not, what do I want to say? And not an alert. Okay, this revolves around the quarry project, which all of us have heard something about. And as you know, the quarry project has yet to apply for conditional use. There's been no formal application. But having gone through a few things around here, different projects that people have come forward and supported or not supported, and having been part of the same community that's had this thing called the granary, and what a lively and fun topic that's been. I expect that the quarry, if in fact they ever file, will definitely be a total whatever. So my thought is this, there are a couple options if the quarry project comes to fruition, and just from an informational standpoint, one option we can take is to do nothing. That's always an option. The county gives us the opportunity to give them our 2 cents, but we're not required to do that. The quarry project could truly be no win for anyone. It's a big project, $40 to $50 million. If it comes to fruition, that's a huge part of our taxes. It's also, as we all know from people that we've heard from, there's already a groundswell of opposition. So to that point, what I thought I would suggest, and I'm looking for your input, is if in fact it comes to that, and it's going to come before the Plan Commission, I am going to propose that we do a joint board meeting with the Plan Commission, because I think there's going to be too much action, too much rhetoric, just too many things to comprehend as the Plan Commission and try and regurgitate it to the rest of the board, and at the same time not be forced into having another whole hearing at a subsequent board meeting. So my thought is we would have a joint meeting when it comes to that, if it gets to that point, and we do not have to, the board does not have to make any recommendation that evening. The Plan Commission can do its normal process, but we would all be involved in that so that we're all hearing the same thing, and at the following county or town board meeting, then we would hopefully reach a decision. So what are your thoughts on that?
Probably at the rest center, because that might be able to seat all the people that are gonna be there.
Well, the good news is that we are limited, you know, they
Yeah.
can stand outside.
Well, to your point, I mean, Linda would be reporting on that meeting back to the board for
Right.
2 hours. You know what I mean, to get everything covered, so I think that's a great idea.
So,
Yeah, plus it would save a lot of repetition.
Yep.
right,
Because the same,
Same
I'm
people.
thinking the same people would appear at the Plan Commission, that would come before the town board, so everybody would be on the same page, everybody heard the same comments and could react accordingly.
Right.
So,
okay.
Makes sense to
Sounds
me.
very good.
Okay, so if it gets to that point, just anticipate, and I want everyone here to participate and understand, because I don't think, based on what I know, it's gonna be a win-win for anyone, and, you know, there's gonna be some happy and unhappy people, it all depends on what side of the fence you're on, so I think it's the logical way to approach it, so, okay, good enough. And maybe we'll get lucky, maybe it won't ever happen at all. I don't know we'll ever get that lucky, but it's possible. Okay. Ordinances and resolutions, we have none this month. We do, however, have financial reports, and in your packet, you have the account balances as of July 31st. You have the budget versus actual, January through July. And you have the transaction list by date of the bills and things that we have paid and or are going to pay. And we have, Amy's going to tell us if there's anything in particular we should know.
Today, we did get our August tax settlement from the county. If you take a look at the attorney legal expense category, we are at 56% of the $12,000 that we have budgeted, so keep that in mind going forward. Committee chairs need to set their dates for budget sessions, so we have some numbers to work off when we have our work session on October 14th at 5:30.
Okay. Any comments from anyone? If not, we would need a motion to accept the financial reports.
I'll make a motion to accept the financial reports.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Mark, to accept the financial reports through July of 2019. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next here is the approval of vouchers, claims, and bills, July 23rd through August 19th, 2019. I think you've all had a chance to sign those?
Yes.
All right. If there's no discussion, a motion would be in order.
I'll move to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims for the period July 23rd through August 19th, 2019, as presented.
A motion by Linda,
I second that.
second by Jim, for approval of the vouchers, claims, and bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Oral committee commission reports and minutes. And you do have the Plan Commission meeting minutes from Thursday, June 20th in here. And if there's anyone that has any oral committee reports they'd like to make, now would be the time. You do?
The Property Management Committee met last week to discuss some of the, or review some of the parcels that we had identified. And again, I'd just like to thank property owners for cooperating. That list is really narrowing down, so great.
That's it?
Well, Plan Commission. Plan Commission meets tomorrow night. We're going to get ready for the public hearing, which will happen on September 24th at 6 p.m. So Brandon Robinson from Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission will be here to tell us the what's, whys, and wherefores of this public hearing that's coming up.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Oh, Linda, you're still on. County Board Report, District 14 Supervisor. Would you like to share with us?
Sure. Lots of things happening at the county level. I'd just like to remind everyone that there are many job opportunities at the county level. If you go to the county website, or you can call the Human Resources Department at 746-2539. We're in desperate need of telecommunicators, the 911 operators. We're kind of down bare bones. And they're even offering sign-on bonuses, so spread the word. And there's several positions at ADRC, a couple in Health and Human Services, transportation manager. We'll see what happens with the door-to-door transportation service. So check out the job listings on the county website. Our Door County Airport passed its federal inspection. That's a good thing. Our Door County Highway Department passed its safety assessment, another good thing. Still looking the emergency services, the paramedics and all that, that's been a topic of discussion for the last couple months. Again, it's still in the process of developing a proposal. The administrative department, our committee is looking at the bargaining agreement right now between the county and emergency services employees and their local union, so still on the table for discussion. The mill pond, That's still a hot topic too. They did come up with a plan. So this is the Forestville Mill Pond where the dam is. They do plan to draw that down starting this fall of 2019. And then they would just maintain that drawdown, keep drawing it down through fall of 2021. And then hopefully refill in the fall of 2021. And then just monitor that for a few years as far as fish stocking, what invasive species pop back up, and maybe some planting of more desirable vegetation around the area. Another item has been the request for a safe harbor at Whitefish Dunes State Park. It is the recommendation from the DNR. At this time, they do not recommend that location for a launch area. There's also suggestion, every once in a while, the county does acquire properties through a foreclosure, non-payment of real estate taxes. And there's a suggestion that perhaps those funds could be set aside for future use for purchase of park property. So, since people are really into parks these days. Still looking at the budget, the various employee benefits and insurance programs. And our county administrator is actually working with the city of Sturgeon Bay and the Door County Economic Development Corp for the West Side School project that might happen over there. Our next meeting of the county board is next Tuesday, August 27th at 9 a.m.
Question for you regarding the Whitefish Bay Dunes State Park. I don't know that you knew this, but Dick Baldwin came to a parks meeting, and I talked to Wayne Spritka, and I also talked to Ben Nelson, and he was going to talk at the park committee meeting last week. He was trying to get the county to sponsor a feasibility study. Were you aware of any of that discussion?
I did look at the minutes of the Parks and Facilities Committee that addressed Mr. Bodwin's request and also included the report from the DNR.
Right.
And in that report and also in the minutes, draft minutes, not approved, there was some discussion on trying to garner some funds for a feasibility study if they decide to go that route.
So do you have those draft minutes?
You can see those
Okay.
online too.
Okay.
Anybody can look at the minutes.
I've looked at their minutes
Again, County
after.
Dora website.
Okay, I'll pull that, because Dick, I expect, will be back at some future meeting, and I've talked to Randy a little bit about this, Randy Halstead, and so I'll follow up just to see where this thing might go. And as an information item, I also corrected the Door County Advocate reporter to inform them that Whitefish Bay Dunes State Park is not in Jacksonport. They have laid claim to that park more than the state has. So anyway, good, thank you, Linda.
Oh, and then tomorrow, correct, tomorrow at George Penny Park, Old Stone Quarry Park, at 1:30 will be the official acceptance of funds that, grant funds used for the Dunes Lake dredging. I cannot attend that meeting, or that honoring ceremony or whatever, but, you know.
This is the addition, I saw that, the additional money that they had
Right,
gathered.
for dredging.
Okay.
The official award of funds, I believe, was an invitation.
Okay.
1:30 at George Penny Park tomorrow afternoon.
All right. Next, we have your copies in your packet of the Door County zoning and Door County inspections permits for July. Very little activity, and looks like it was all storage sheds or garages, which is unusual. We usually have some new homes. You also have in here the picnic license for the Threshery, which is already come and gone, so we give them a license. They used it, it's over. Fast. The wrestling club is coming up at the end of the month, and that's at our town park, and you've issued that to them as well already, Amy? You have?
Yes.
Okay. so you are aware of that. And that's good. And we're into correspondence. And the first thing in there is Bay Lake, and by the way, it is, I think it's $4,371, I think we found, is what the renewal rate is for them. If that number's right, or it's close, you can take a look at that. We already know the results of the RPC hearing, which was to approve the Lobenstein rezone for their home to a commercial center, and the denial of Lou Teague's for the cabin.
That's correct.
So I think some people will be pleased on both sides with that. There's also an issue with the gentleman that moved the barn off of Highway 57, right on County T. This is where the dirt berms and cedar trees were planted and everything. So the county is working with them to understand how that building appeared there and why. You also have a copy of the 2019 permitted rooms, which I think there's another one at your desk, right? Yes. There's an updated one through August. We had 53 properties through May. I don't know what August has probably added another 8 or 10 maybe. So if you find somebody in your neighborhood that isn't on the list, you would be appropriate to let Jim know or the commission, kind of level the playing field for those people that do have permits. You also have a copy of the City Sturgeon Bay Fire Report, which is kind of good news. There wasn't much of any activity there either. And this one was interesting reading. We have a copy of our preliminary population estimate from the 2010 census of 2,743 people, which is up. So I don't know why it takes them that long to get us that information, but we're growing. So that's everything in correspondence. Announcements. There is a communication technology meeting on August 20th at 2 p.m. That was the former cable committee. Its name has been changed if you're not in the loop. We have a plan commission meeting, as Linda indicated, tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And this is to prepare for the comprehensive plan open house in September, which is September 24th. The class tournaments will occur at our town park.
They would love for people to volunteer and help out.
Pardon me?
They would love for people to volunteer and help out with class tournaments.
Okay.
If anybody wants to show up and umpire, run the scoreboard, anything, they'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay, and that's over the Labor Day weekend, August 31st and 1st of September. School's back on September 3rd. Boy, some people here must be excited about that. Are you? You are? Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Our next meeting is September 16th. And once again, the comprehensive plan open house is September 24th. If you care about where Sevastopol is going in the future, we strongly encourage you to attend and give us your thoughts. All right. Agenda items for next meeting. I'm going to bring back a couple of items. Does anybody else have anything you'd like added, or if not?
I've had quite a few people come to me in the last couple weeks and ask them about the four-wheelers on the roads again. Ask where we stand, if anything. I just told them what we went over at the meeting with, seeing if we get a club to do something that's sponsored or run it.
I think
don't know if
we,
you wanna-
well, I'm going to be at the meeting tomorrow night, and we'll talk with Brandon a little bit and see what, I mean, we can certainly bring it up at that meeting, but if you've heard something, I haven't, you haven't, no one else has. And
Okay.
no one has, I mean, even the fellow that came forth with the idea, no one's voiced any interest in forming a group. I mean, it's just, so I don't know if there's anything there or not. But if you want to give feedback to anybody, that conversation would be is, there's work to be done, there's signs to be bought,
That's
and,
basically what I told them.
okay, so.
I told them to get a hold of the snowmobile clubs, and that might be a really good route to
Yeah.
work together.
I mean, we'll probably put it, we'll discuss it tomorrow night, but we'll probably put it on the comprehensive plan and give people an opportunity to see what's up. Okay, so unless somebody has something else,
Regarding
Okay.
ATV roads, this was very interesting at our last county board meeting. So if it's on a county trunk, the county board addresses it. So the town of Bailey's Harbor, unanimously, the town board approved that, I don't know if it's County E or County EE, that goes across Kangaroo Lake.
E,
E?
E,
Yeah.
1E.
So the town board recommended that that be designated as an ATV route. And the county board said, no, it was too unsafe. That it was, the causeway is too narrow, and so the county board did not
Really?
recommend that.
I mean, the county
Found
should
that
know
interesting,
the
but-
county should know what they're doing, but my recollection from reading all of the stuff that I've seen on the topic said that the county, the town has jurisdiction of roads in its town, whether it's county or town roads, as long as it's not an interstate. So I'd be curious, I did see it on their agenda, but I'd have to go back and reread it, but I was pretty sure that was the answer. Because I had that issue with John when I talked to him about some of the concerns with Shower, Glidden, Cave Point, there were numerous. So I'll be curious to hear the output of that.
Maybe the municipality has an appeal process that they can, oh,
Well,
interesting.
that will be,
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
how else would you get into town in Bailey's Harbor? Because they're all county roads, no state roads coming into it.
Yeah,
well, they have approved, and then,
They've approved a lot of them
Yeah.
in Claybanks and Union, and pretty much almost every road in the southern part of the county is now
Yeah.
ATV, along with all the county roads down there. I think
yeah,
that was
that,
interesting.
and they're spending money putting up signs that says no ATV.
yeah, they have to do that.
Up, I mean, Bailey's Harbor is.
Right.
Right.
It's kind of funny, they're spending money to,
They have to
They have to
define,
tell them that you can't
right.
be allowed on that road.
You either open up everything or you have to put signage everywhere, which is the negative thing about it is you get to some roads, you got so many signs on a post, who could figure
Yeah.
out where they're going, you know, I mean, anyway, it'll be fun, another great discussion. All right, we come to the part of the meeting that John prefers to address through a motion. John?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by John, second by?
I'll second.
Second by Linda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.